everybody, this is Gary Trendle, Chair of the Hopkinton Planning Board, and I wanted to give a quick recap from a public input session that we had on March 21st, 2023, specifically related to pedestrian connectivity. So this is a project that the Planning Board has embarked upon to put together a more comprehensive plan for sidewalks and trails, and in general giving the public the opportunity to get outdoors and use walking or running as a means to get from point A to point B. And at the start of last year, we conducted a pretty comprehensive survey. We got some great input from that, among other things, a desire for loops that are between 2 and 4 miles that are optimal for people that are running and walking, desire to connect neighborhoods and town resources. And we conducted this public input session to gather some additional information as we begin work on this plan, and also in preparation for several articles related to sidewalk improvements at town meeting coming up this year. So I think overall, we had some great discussion. We had 18 folks in total attend, and I think we had a pretty good representation from different parts of town and different perspectives on it. A couple of primary themes that stood out to me. One was a strong need to prioritize safety first. And I think for, Hopkinton has a number of through roads, and certainly with increases in traffic and increases in population, certainly we want to make sure that we protect the safety of our residents and visitors that are out walking or running in town. The second theme was that there's a very clear desire to prioritize a sidewalk from Lumber Street to likely Downey Street along Main Street. So it's a reasonably complicated one because of the 495 interchange. The Department of Transportation and Cloverleaf interchanges in particular can be challenging from a safety perspective, given the speed with which cars are merging. But I think the folks on the call really emphasized how 495 really cuts the town in half, and how disconnected West Hopkinton and the Lake community in particular can be from the other parts of Hopkinton. And when you add that in combination with how dangerous it could be if people tried to walk along the street, I would agree. I think there's a really strong case to prioritize that project. The third theme was really a desire to focus on population density and potential users. And you look at a map, we certainly have a couple of areas that are denser than others. So downtown being one of them, the Lake Maspinock area being another. I think the idea here was that the denser the housing around it, the more users we would potentially have, and the more people that would benefit from these safety improvements that let them get outdoors. The fourth theme was, in general, a desire to prioritize sidewalks over trails. And I think this is based on a couple of things. Number one, some of the trail connectors that we were considering were reasonably short, and the group felt that they could likely be managed through the TCM, the Trails Committee. And then secondly, in many cases, trails are much cheaper to develop, and there's also often likely other mechanisms to get them built out. So I think that was in general, and it doesn't mean that we're not going to consider some trails as well, or shared use paths for that matter. But among this input session, there's certainly a preference for sidewalks. The last point, actually just 2 more points, but number one, the group felt strongly that having a multi-year plan would be really helpful to understand where the town wants to go over the next several years. And certainly that's aligned with our objective as a planning board. The last point to make is the town is going to start increasing its efforts to find alternative funding sources for these types of projects. whether it be through state or federal grants. We have some new grant writing capacity at Town Hall, but we know that sidewalks can be costly, but we also see them very much in line with our master plan and with some of the objectives of both state and federal programs. So all in all, I'm really grateful for the folks that were able to participate. Also for folks from Town Hall, I know that they have busy schedules as well and spend many of their evenings listening to calls like this. But the input from the session is definitely helping to shape our efforts as a planning board as we build out a more comprehensive pedestrian connectivity plan. So thanks everyone, and as always, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me or to our planning department at Town Hall.